understanding that the people that follow you on social media, they already like you. You don't have to try and be something different to convince them to buy a product from you.
What's up? I'm Brad McCallum out of Calgary, Alberta.
And I'm Bob Tompkins out of Anderson, South Carolina. And this is the Bob and Brad Show.
Hey, welcome back to the Bob and Brad Show. And today you guys are in for a treat because we're going to be debating 4 of the hottest topics in real estate today. And I can tell you right now, Bob, I am someone who's pretty good at debating. I'm a great debater. But from what I've heard from Bob's high school friends is that he's a master debater. All right, so let's get right into it. The first topic, Bob, is going to be talking about organic reach versus paid. So a lot of people struggle with this idea of, do we actually put some advertising dollars behind the posts that we make, right? Do we go totally pure, that where we say, listen, we put our stuff up online, on YouTube, on Facebook, we never hit boost, and we really try to capture an organic audience? Or do we actually put some cash behind it? I know I struggle with this all the time because I wonder about, is this going to screw with the algorithm? Is this going to mess up how many people subscribe to me on YouTube or how many people follow me on Facebook? What's the deal? What do you do?
So I know we both have pretty strong opinions on all 4 topics that we're going to be talking about today. Mm-hmm. When it comes to the organic versus paid, however, that might be the only one that I'm not extremely hard one way or the other. Mm-hmm. I lean heavy to the organic side of this, but I think that there's a paid aspect to it that you can't overlook, and you can't ignore it. So for me, using Facebook more on my end, it's one of those things that the algorithm doesn't exactly hurt you if you use that boost button or if you dark post.
Sure. And so this is kind of getting back, I think, a little bit to our discussion we had with Sharon last week. He talked about how he pretty much destroyed his Instagram account by buying followers. And so when we talk about paid advertising today, we're not talking about buying subscribers, buying followers, or paying for fake views on any of our content. What we're talking about is taking original content that we have created and asking the programs to then distribute it throughout the different platforms, right, to more of an audience, right, and hopefully a targeted audience, right? Because ultimately, if you're a realtor, you're going to be someone who's probably got a lot of realtors that follow you. And a lot of those realtors are probably not in your market. They might someday be a source of a referral, but ultimately, I know a lot of my videos are probably 80% consumed by, other agents and, around North America, whereas, 1 in 5 views might be coming from my actual market. So I really want it to show up in my actual market, but Facebook these days, it's pretty much pay to play. Is that right?
Yep. Well, I think it also depends on what the purpose of your videos are.
Yeah.
For the agents that are trying to sell a house, they're creating content to sell a product. Those things, if you're marketing it to other realtors, especially if it's realtors in other markets, you're not benefiting your client or yourself. So that organic reach from a business page or from a personal page, if half your friends are realtors, it doesn't really do anything for you. Mm-hmm. However, if your primary focus is personal brand and you're not trying to sell a product with that, then the organic reach doesn't hurt you as much because you're building that persona. You're not trying to sell a product. So it kind of depends. If you're having to sell a product, then spending that money to get it in front of a specific audience is very important.
So I don't want to cross over into some of the stuff that we're going to be talking coming up, or one of our next debates, which I think is a little bit stronger opinions we both share on it. But what I will say about paid advertising, right? It's like we pay for all these other forms of advertising all the time, like everything from client gifts to physical print and Google ads, and people buy Zillow and all these different things. So when we think of our content that we're producing and we want to get it out to a wider audience, I always think of it in terms of the hours that I invest into it. So if I'm going to put a couple hours into a shoot and then, 2 or 3 more hours into editing it and then getting it all out there, I mean, it's worth 4 or 5 hours of my time. And so every agent's going to have to decide what is your time worth. But I almost guarantee you that if you want that video to be seen and you're not paying for it for the average agent, you're just not getting the exposure. The 4 or 5 hours is a waste unless you put in another hour's worth of your time into an advertising budget. $50, $100, a couple $100, whatever it might be.
Yeah, but I think that part of this kind of drives back to the type of content that you're creating. Because if you're creating something that is not fun to watch, then it is not going to get any sort of organic traffic.
Yeah.
You're going to have to pay for it. And then the question is, are you actually getting good engagement if the video sucks?
Yeah. So that's the point. And I was talking about this with my buddy Ken Posick the other day, because a lot of agents kind of struggle with this idea of it. But the reality is if you want your content to be seen, the more, and it doesn't matter necessarily the quality of it, if it's entertaining or engaging content, your advertising dollar is going to go 3 or 4 times further. Right. If it's not good content, if it's boring, if it's poorly shot, if it's a shaky cell phone video through a home, and you want everyone in your neighborhood to know you got a new listing coming to the market, well, Facebook knows that that's a bad experience for one of their users. So they're going to have to run that through an algorithm of, is it worth the risk that someone watching this on Facebook is going to leave Facebook after watching this content? And so they're going to charge you way more for that same distribution. And so when it comes to the content we're making, we always have to think about how it's being received. And I think something that you do that I think is really, really smart is don't you oftentimes wait until you see if the content's really starting to pop off? And once you know it's popping off organically and you're getting that engagement, then it makes sense to throw some dollars behind it, because you know that those dollars are going to stretch all that further because people
exactly. And one of those examples, and I'll use a video that I put out just like 3 weeks ago that I'm about to put advertising spend behind, but I haven't yet. I created it was a joke. Like it was called Realtors in Quarantine.
Good one.
Showing like the way real estate agents act when they're quarantined. And my following on my business page on Facebook is right around 5,200 people. And that video, the organic reach reached over 40,000 people. So that tells you if that's the following I had, it had to get pushed out and shared, and then Facebook had to put it on news feeds. People were reacting to it. If it got that sort of traffic, if I put money behind it, I'm going to get a very good bang for my buck, as opposed to putting out one of my videos that maybe only reached 2,000 or 3,000 people.
Yeah. So that's actually a really good point. I know I've made this mistake a lot of times where I fall in love with a piece of content or a message or something that I think that I put a little bit of my heart into it, and I really want everyone to see it. And then you press upload, and then you press refresh, and then you press refresh, and you look at your phone, and there's no notifications, and nobody cares about it. So you cannot fall in love with a piece of content, because the only judge of whether or not it's good or worthy or entertaining is the audience. And so if you try to take that content then and throw some money behind it, you're just going to take that same bad response or that same low engagement and magnify it. It's just more people are going to see something that they don't care about, that they don't find relevant to them. And so like my wife and I, we created a little vlog around making dinner. And we got maybe about 350 organic views on YouTube, which is not a lot for my channel by any means. And we got a little bit of engagement from it. But the big thing is that people it was not what they subscribed to my channel for. So it might be a piece, a part of a bigger puzzle, like a content puzzle, where people who see our listing videos and who see some of our silly jokes in our videos, and then who see my family making dinner, it might be part of them feeling like they know, like, and trust me more. But it's also a really good indicator to me that I'm not going to spend too much time on my channel creating that kind of content, because it's just, and it's definitely not something that I want to go and boost, because it doesn't resonate, doesn't lead to leads. It's more of just a little puzzle that someone's going to find when they go down the rabbit hole of like, oh, okay, this guy's like this, and they watch 4 or 5 of your videos.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So I think we covered it, man. So like organic versus paid, it's not a really simple equation. It's going to come down to what your goals are, what the content piece is. But ultimately, I think if you were to distill it down to one rule, is if people are engaging with it on an organic level, your advertising budget is going to stretch really far. So you're going to have a lot of success with it that way. So now this next one, Bob, I like this one. Because, you know, I'm a big fan of Sharran, and last week we had this talk about cadence versus quality. He said, you know, just because he posts more than me, he'd get more views and all that stuff. And because I'm such a fan of Sharran, and if you're listening, Sharran, apologies for this, I just didn't speak up, and I should have, because to me, it's not as clear that cadence versus quality wins. There's another guy, Neil, made a great post on Lab Coat Agents this week, talking about how just get out in front of your camera, just talk to your audience, and, you know, forget the idea of the perfect video. It's just paralyzing you. It's stopping you from growing. So let's talk about, does cadence win? Does quality win?
I'm going to come in hot on this too.
Yeah, do it.
I completely agree with Sharran on this. And I think it's the one thing you do wrong.
Yeah.
So I'm going to come in way hot on this. Cadence is so much more important than quality of the video, because you're not in front of people if you're only putting out one video a week, one video every 2 weeks. You're just simply not in front of them. The way the algorithms are worked on all social media platforms are that if you are in front of people and they are engaged with you on a consistent basis, you're going to show up at the top of the feed whenever new content is released. Cadence only helps quality when quality is put out. But quality, you know, it doesn't really do anything unless you have the video, the wealth of videos to put out to people.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, this is where I kind of disagree, because there's this article or this popular blog post called 1,000 True Fans. And it came out, I don't know, probably 10 years ago, and a lot of like gurus and people talk about this. And it's the concept behind it is that people mistake this idea of celebrity with, you need millions of views, you need to go viral, you need to do all these things. But in reality, most people, you actually need a much smaller fan base. You just need 1,000 true fans, and you can pretty much go follow your passion. And these are people who will watch every video you'll put out. These are people who are like, they're ride or die Bob Tompkins or ride or die Brad McCallum. They want to work with him. They're invested in you, and then they're going to actually spread your name around. And so I think the challenge for me is, and I think one of the challenges that we're seeing right now with COVID and the pandemic, for me, I believe really strongly that as agents just get more comfortable with cadence and pressing record and the courage of just putting themselves out there, there's going to be this absolute flood of garbage, of useless, unengaging, uninteresting content that's coming from the real estate market, like we've seen with all the other forms of advertising that's came from real estate, that it's all going to be washed away. And so in my opinion, I would rather have less views, but from higher value viewers. So for me, I just need 1 or 2 developers or homeowners to see my IGTV that looks like fire, that looks like nothing they've ever seen a realtor produce. And that's going to generate $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 in income for me in a year. So if my goal is to be in front of a large audience of realtors, every week and sharing my opinions and my thoughts and stuff that way, or just in front of my market and talking about what store I'm at or this or that. Yeah, that's definitely one attraction model where you're going to get people who just know you, like you. Then the flip side of it is, if you want to actually do business, like you want to do real business where people are calling you up, they want to work with you, They want you to represent their company. They want you to be their media department. And what that means for you is that you're going to pick up 5, 6, 7 listings from that one person. In my opinion, I think there's a huge advantage to having that distance between what you're putting out and what the rest of the world puts out. Now, I still do my stuff on IGTV, which is obviously not produced. It's just me talking. I get a lot of engagement from it. IG stories. That's how I kind of just engage with people on like a real casual level. I get a lot of return from it. And I think if I didn't have something as low risk as IG stories to put out, I probably would struggle to maybe resonate with more people. So I think that's part of the puzzle. But that's where I think like you're like Neil, I think it's Neil Dinga. He'd said, you know, about that one perfect video. And you and I have talked about this. Like, one video is not enough, and 2 videos is not enough. And like, it's really important to be releasing regularly, 1 to 2 videos a week. And in some cases, you're 3 or 4 times a week.
Well, and not in some cases. Pretty much every week, I'm 3 to 4 videos a week.
Yeah.
But so here's the thing, and this is the difference between what you're saying and what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You're saying that if you put out quality, high-end quality, you know, once a week or once every other week or whatever, that you're getting in front of a very loyal, albeit smaller group, a very loyal group that's loyal to the level of content that you're creating.
Sure.
The problem is, let's say there's 10 days between your videos. That's 10 days that your followers have to forget about you. My followers don't have that opportunity because I'm top of mind because of the sheer amount of content I put out. Now, I'm not saying that you go,
Bob.
I'm not saying that you come in here and you press this little live button on your phone and you get a, you know, shitty quality video.
Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 10, you would rate a 3, or maybe the context of that video, it's a 2. Like, it's just, there's no point to it. If you're doing that, then that's not good top of mind awareness.
Yeah.
What the big point, and I think that Sharon would agree with me here, both you and I have a high quality camera that we shoot on. We do good audio. We have good lighting. The difference is you'll spend 8 hours editing a video. I'll spend 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Because I want to get it out. You want it to be perfect. So the difference is I'll put out 4 that on a scale of 1 to 10 are maybe an 8, 7 or 8. I'll put out 4, 7 or 8 videos that are high. I mean, they're good quality, but they're not the highest level. You'll put out 110. The average consumer, they know yours is perfect and mine's not, but they don't see a huge gap. No. What they do see is they see me 4 times a week and they see you once.
Yeah, so I understand what you're saying, and it's not that I disagree on volume, like getting close. And so this is why I would say I have to work around the idea of being like perfect with the content that I release by creating systems that allow me to release more. So like having a home studio, having good lighting, having a good camera setup, having the Cam Link set up. This allows me to sit down to the computer and not waste time on the setup, the visual, all that stuff, which is important to me. And it does make a difference, like even in my bombs and everything else, people notice that little bit of extra. And not to the point that it's going to convert anyone, but it's definitely something that if for me who wants to have a very polished brand, like that's sort of presented in anything that's going to live forever, because I'm really heavy on YouTube. I want that stuff to look good. So I find that I've been introducing more systems so I can get more stuff that has the quality of a 10 out that might be an 8 or a 9 and not quite like, you know, dial in as much. And to be fair, I don't spend 8 hours on a video normally. I do spend some time though, sometimes now and then. I've just found that you actually don't need to have you don't even need to have 50 incredible videos in a year. If you can do 5 or 6 that are really noteworthy, like that are really exceptional, that you can build a business off of that. And so my argument around quality is just purely that the distance between you and your competition, like your personality, Bob, I would watch, the Buy with Bob show. I would watch you just because I find you engaging. And most of us and most agents that are out there, they're not that comfortable on camera. They're not as comfortable in their own skin. And so just putting stuff out there in my mind is just not enough of a differentiator in your market. Because I got 5,000 agents here, and each one of them are slowly kind of shifting to video. And I want every agent in my market. And so I apologize to a couple of agents in our market that watch this show, but I want my agents in my market to see my stuff and say, nah, I don't even want to get on video. Like, I'm just going to look foolish compared to what Brad's doing. Like, I use it as a deterrent for other agents.
Well, see, so we have the same mindset there.
Yeah.
I know that the 7 or 8, on a scale of 1 to 10, that 7 or 8 level video, if I'm putting out 4 of those a week, anybody else, if they even try to keep up with that pace, they're like, I can't do it. They're like, it's just too much. So both of us are looking at that the same way. You create these perfect, beautiful videos, and people look at it and they're like, I can never do that. But then people look at the sheer volume that I put out at the level that I put it out, and they're like, I can't keep up.
Yeah.
So we had the same mindset, which is overwhelming the competition.
Yeah. You know what? I think when I started this business, I read a book somewhere that said like, oh, you really want to be a listing agent. And so I just noticed that all of my content, everything was driven towards either attracting more listings or trying to sell the house through like a really cool video. And just so as a byproduct of that, because we've had a lot of success with it, I'm so focused on that. Whereas in my mind, I guess I probably struggle with that idea of like, if I start doing, like a beer of the week, okay, let's be honest, like a cocktail of the week, it would be, that'd be more my speed. Scotch of the week. Yeah. I think like, who's watching this with me? Right. But anyways, I give it to you. I'll give you this one. I do think cadence is important. And it's something that I'm trying to do, is just get more content out. That's good enough.
Yeah.
Good enough.
Well, I mean,
I already know it's not going to be crap. Like I already know it's going to be great.
That's where we're different. Probably more so than anything else is you follow way more of a Ryan Serhant kind of, mindset behind content. And I follow way more of a Gary Vaynerchuk style of content. I want to put as much out as possible, and whatever you put out, it needs to be perfect.
Yeah, that's probably right. All right. Guys, I think you guys all heard.
This probably transitions well to the next topic.
Yeah, it does. So the next topic, it's hat versus hair. Okay, so if you're wondering what this means, I got the hair, Bob wears the hat. Who's right? Who's wrong? How do we present ourselves when we go in front of the camera? And how do we want to brand ourselves in front of the world? Right. And so I think that's the big challenge. Now, Bob and I have, I would say, pretty distinctly different approaches to this. And I tell you what, but I'll tell you a little story about my very first interview when I got my real estate license. This is back when I thought you actually would go into a brokerage and they would interview you to see if you were a good fit for the brokerage. I didn't realize yet that they hire everyone. So I went into a brokerage, not a Remax brokerage, and I showed up in a suit. And I was like, I don't know, this is what a businessman would look like. And even though my entire life prior to that, I owned a 7-figure renovation company, and I never dressed like that, even when I went to expensive calls. For some reason, I thought, well, I'm going to act like someone who I'm not. And the guy that I'm meeting with, he's a top agent. He owns a brokerage worth tons of cash. And he's just there in jeans and a t-shirt. I felt like an idiot, like a complete idiot. And it started to be down this path of kind of trying to figure out, like, how do I present myself to the world? What do I wear on camera? And I think you are someone who's so Like you're so yourself that you never have to think about that part of it, right? When you're creating content, right? So what's the benefit of the hat?
So I'm going to kind of backtrack just a little bit and tell a story the way you did.
Yeah.
When I first got started in the business, you go back and look at my original headshots. Okay. I've got my hair done like you. My beard's extremely clean and I'm in a suit, full suit, like, pristine, sort of
Can you
cleaned up.
Post that in the Facebook comments when this episode.
Yeah, I'll put it in the comments. But like, I didn't feel comfortable. And for the first probably year and a half of my real estate business, every time I interacted with somebody, the thing that I heard the most is I'd hand my business card to someone. They would look at it and they'd look at me. They'd look at the card. They go, "This isn't you."
Yeah.
And I began to feel like a lot of my advertising was bait and switch. I was advertising that I was this professional, like cleaned up suit and tie sort of person. And then when you meet me, that's not who I am. So for me, it was way more of like, I'm not going to get up every morning and try and be somebody I'm not to appeal to a clientele. I'm just going to start putting out exactly who I am to everybody. So now my headshot is me in a hoodie, completely different. I mean, it's a complete shift. And when people see me, they're like, okay, this is the exact same guy. The hat, I'm wearing a golf polo today, but this is about as ever dressed up as I ever get. It really conveys this is who I am. This is my message. This is what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to have to try and do something special for a video that I'm going to do. I don't have to worry about getting ready for 2 hours or however long it takes to look like you. I don't have to do that. Like, I can just get in front of the camera and press play.
Listen, my hair care routine, it's like 5 minutes. Okay. No, seriously though. So here's the thing though. There is this, I think, to your philosophy though, is that, and for anyone watching who has any debate on, how they should dress, how they should look, whatever they should do, I'd say probably maybe it depends on the market that you're in a little bit, or what the expectation of your clients might be. But even that's probably overthinking it. It's probably just comes down to like, what's a clean, presentable version of yourself? Because whoever you are, that's the one that's going to resonate with people. Because remember, everyone always says that, like Tom Ferry says, people work with who they know, like, and trust. Ryan Serhant, actually, he always says people don't want to work with real estate agents, but they love to go shopping with friends. Like, love to go for a beer with friends, love to go shopping with friends, love to go hang out with a friend. So if you're not comfortable in your skin or what you're wearing or how you're presenting yourself, it's going to be a challenge. And I see this with a lot of new agents, especially maybe younger agents who they don't quite know really who they are yet. They're still thinking of like, well, they read the success books and they watched all the success vlogs and all this stuff. And so they're like, I really got to put these power quotes out on Instagram of, about rising and grinding and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And the challenge is that no one believes it. Like if you're struggling as a new agent, like just get out and be real with people. Be real with like your clothing, with how you're talking about the struggles in the market, what you're doing to try to do. That's going to resonate with people.
Well, and this is like this is a topic I bring up all the time with people. Is everyone that knew you before you were in real estate, sees through the bullshit. they know who you were before. So if you start putting on a suit, acting a different way, like they know that's not you, they know it's not authentic, and they're not going to want to do business with you because they are like, no, this is fake. So then you're having to market to people that don't even know who you are and hope that they pick you because you look professional. Yeah. Like it's a ludicrous mindset because it literally pushes away the people that might have used you in the first place. Yeah. So for me, like everybody that knew me when I was a bartender or when I was in college, when they meet me now, they're like, oh, it's just the same guy. Like there's nothing different. They're comfortable with me from the get-go which makes converting them into clients so much easier.
Yeah, you know what? And I've been noticing for myself, you kind of, the longer you do this, the longer you put yourself out, it's still hard. I still have a hard time after 2 years of creating content and being in front of the camera, just being comfortable, right? And I would say there are a whole bunch of reasons for that, right? Like I remember, I always joke about this. There's this kid, like I remember sitting on the bus on a field trip in grade 5. This kid looked back at me and he's like, "Your chin looks like Bart Simpson." I'm serious. Right. And I was like, and I don't have this big, strong chin. I'm not a really tall guy. I'm missing a tooth over here that because it's not an essential service, I can't get fixed. So there's all these things that we like hate about ourselves, or that you notice about yourself that no one else knows, that no one else cares about. Yeah. And also it's always a struggle kind of finding out where you want to be. So what I've figured out though is that the only person you can dress for is yourself. And a big part of me feeling professional is being slightly clean cut, like not dressed up, not in a suit and tie, something like that. And I rarely wear a sport jacket because it just feels like, come on, realtor in a sport jacket, like it's been played out. But the thing is the more comfortable I feel, I think just it's been a game changer for being able to put my best self forward. And I do want to also dress a little bit as for my client. And so like, I'm not sure what it's like in your area, but is there a respect thing? Like, do you have to consider like who you're meeting, all that side?
I mean, so much of where I am is blue collar jobs. Like there's a bunch of plants. There's, a couple colleges, there's tons of restaurants. I mean, we don't have big corporations in Anderson, South Carolina. It's just like the corporations are in the bigger cities. They're in Atlanta, they're in Charlotte. There's a few in Greenville, but they're not here. Like they're not where I live. So the average person, works swing shifts, works 12-hour shifts, comes out with rubber all on their hands or, grease on their body. Like, so for them, like this is what they dress like to go to church on Sunday.
Sure. Yeah. Gotcha.
So I'm relatable to them. If I wore a suit and tie, I would feel so high class to them that they wouldn't feel comfortable working with me anyways.
Yeah. So I think that's the other thing. Then it comes down to, it's not maybe the hat versus the hair, this debate. It's probably the hat or the hair or whatever makes sense, for you. If it's like workout gear because you meet your clients at the gym, right?
I think the biggest thing with this is just being true to yourself and also understanding that the people that follow you on social media, they already like you.
Yeah.
You don't have to try and be something different to convince them to buy a product from you. They accepted the friend request.
Yeah.
They already like you.
Yeah. I know. I've seen Sirhan always say that he dresses like he'll wear a suit as a sign of respect for his clients. And I thought, that makes a lot of sense, except I'm going to a $400,000 listing. He's going to a $40 million. I think there's a different expectation there.
There is. Sure. And I mean, that's the thing. If I got a phone call and, Bill Gates wanted to come look at a house in Greenville, I'm probably wearing a suit for that showing. But
how disappointed would he be if he called you? He'd be looking for you. That's probably the thing. He'd probably be looking for you and you to be you. Bob times two.
Yeah, exactly. He would probably have called me for me to be me. So that you shouldn't change what you do at all.
Yeah, anybody. So I think the final message then is that the quicker that you figure out who you are and what you're most comfortable in, that's probably how you want to present yourself to the world. So then here's our last topic then, Bob. Facebook versus YouTube. Now, I have had, I'm on both platforms, and I know a lot of guys say you should be everywhere at once. Why do you focus so heavy on Facebook? What advantages do you see there?
So Facebook to me is very community focused.
Yeah.
And my Facebook, I'll say there's two communities in which I'm very involved with on Facebook. One is my town where I live. That community is is one that I'm very involved with on Facebook. The other is the Remax community. I'm very involved in that community on Facebook. Well, one leads to referrals and one leads to brand awareness and client referrals where I live. So, you know, being able to build those communities, build those followers, it's very organic. There's shareability to the post is what I call it. You have that ability to hit share. There's much higher interaction, much more engagement as far as likes and comments, to be able to get to know people on a personal level. And it's not necessarily people that have to hit subscribe in order to see my stuff. I can seek people out and add them as well. Yeah.
So I agree. My challenge with Facebook is I love Facebook for one thing. But I don't think I get clients there. Might get referrals. I definitely get. I got a referral last night from an agent in British Columbia. So I get referrals from Facebook. I do my business though on YouTube. Hey, you got something going on there?
No, I'm counting on my big board.
Yeah.
To see how many of my clients I got from Facebook. 26 clients on my board that came from Facebook.
Which is okay. So this is a good point here. So I get a ton of business from YouTube, and I focus a lot on my YouTube channel. And the real reason for that is because I don't do any other sort of lead gen. Like I'm on Facebook, I'm in different real estate video focus groups. I'm not as active maybe in my local community, but being in a city of 1 million people, it's really hard unless you're going to make that your full-time job to run a local community here. And I've seen a few people do that, but no agents successfully keep it going. My focus has been Instagram and YouTube, and I get a lot of business from both of those. And so I can kind of go down the list with each of those of picking up developers and individuals and buyers and sellers based on the content. The reason I like YouTube is probably goes back to the cadence over quality thing. And the reason why is because like on Facebook, you need cadence. Like if someone scrolls past that video once and you go back to try and find it, man, forget about it. Like it's hard, right? It's not linear. You're always filtering it through an algorithm. If you pause for a second on the video and didn't click, Facebook's like, great, let's don't serve him up that. He didn't want it. So they go on to the next thing, right? And so if you're not posting 2 or 3 or 4 times a week on Facebook, you're going to get lost. You're definitely going to get lost. So on YouTube, the difference is you can create one piece of content that resonates in your marketplace, and it can live for 4 or 5 years. And so if you're going to take it really from a quality approach, like the idea of like, okay, a little bit, like I'll produce less content, but I really want it to, stand out from the other content that gets produced, which is there's 300 hours per minute get uploaded to YouTube. So you really need to have something that's exceptional on YouTube if you want it to get seen. YouTube favors things like watch time and engagement and what people do after the video. So there's all these metrics that they use to determine whether or not that video is a good experience for the user. So for me, I like the idea of unlocking that algorithm, because if you get a few videos that pop off there, I've got one video that's just, it gets watched every day. I made it 15 months ago. It gets watched every day for almost an hour and 45 minutes.
Wow.
And so for me, I think, okay, it's great. Every day people see that cool piece of work. And so, yeah, it took 6 or 7 hours to edit that video, but every day it's getting watched. And so I love that idea of YouTube. I love the idea that it's a search engine. And as people are favoring video as their form of their preferred form of media to consume, Google is realizing that. Now, Google is obviously the #1 search engine on earth, but it owns YouTube, and it's starting to introduce YouTube search results into people's Google queries. So you search, oh, like, how do you, like, I want to move to Anderson, South Carolina. Well, there's going to be videos on that first page of Google. If you want to get to first page of Google with SEO and everything else, forget about it. It's not happening. I've got 10 years of agents in my marketplace that have spent $10,000, $15,000 a month on their SEO. So that's not happening. But if I create one cool video, I can upend 10 years of their work because YouTube knows or Google knows that people are having a good experience with that video. So I love the idea that your content can live forever and generate leads. Like I could not make content for 3 months. You're dead. You're dead in the Facebook world. In YouTube, I'll have hundreds more subscribers, thousands upon thousands more views, and still be getting leads.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, you have that ability to be able to step away because of YouTube. But you can also see that pretty much every idea each of us has is based on the platform that we use.
Yeah.
The more cleaned up look versus the unpolished look, the cadence versus the quality, it all kind of comes back to what platform we use and what audience we're trying to appeal to.
Okay, so then a bonus question for you, Bob.
Yeah.
Bonus question is what platform rules them all?
Well, I mean, my opinion's Facebook.
Okay.
I wouldn't be on Facebook.
Yeah. And in my opinion, like I love Facebook. That's where I talk to people. That's where I make real connections. So I love Facebook for that. I love YouTube for its searchability. I like Instagram for the ability for me to just do the unvarnished, like the just day-to-day IG stories. So people see that side that you share more, I think, on Facebook. But one thing they struggle with, and that I see a lot of guys putting this stuff out, like, and I'm not going to name them. I won't name them all. But there's a couple like really well-respected guys that they throw this comment out into the world. Guys like Gary Vee, like, you should be everywhere. And it just drives me insane. I just think it's just the worst advice. Like just like telling an agent like who decides, oh, I want to shoot listing videos, and then looks at one of my listing videos and decides, well, I'm not going to do one because it won't look like that. It's like, it's like people generally in your gym, they put a picture of like a ripped dude as inspiration, right? They don't put like the guy who's 5 pounds lighter than you and say like, listen, that's the goal you should be working towards. Even though that's a step, that's a step along the way to get there. I don't think you should be everywhere.
Neither do I. I mean, I think that you should find the platform that fits not only your personality, but your style. Yeah. And that you should double, triple down there. Now, granted, the platform has to make sense. Like for YouTube, there's people of all ages on YouTube. Yeah. Facebook, people of all ages on Facebook. Instagram, people of all ages on Facebook. I mean, on Instagram.
Yeah.
TikTok, it's young kids. You don't need to be on TikTok.
You didn't say it. Why'd you say TikTok? No one's doing business on TikTok.
No one's doing business on TikTok. No one's doing business. Anybody that tells you they are is full of it, unless they're selling like candy to children.
So we've gotten to the Bob and Brad versus the world section of this podcast to finish it off. Listen, I feel strongly about TikTok, and I'm very comfortable being proved wrong here in a little bit. To me, I think TikTok is Vine. When you got Vine, when Vine was popping, people were like, Vine is going to dethrone Instagram. Vine is going to dethrone that. And yeah, I get lots of great Instagram posts came from stuff that's created on Vine. But I'm like, well, then why are you there? Like, just create, like, why? It all takes time. Everything takes time, to have a strategy that's going to win on any of the platforms.
People are like, look at this 10-second TikTok that got 5 million views on Facebook. Okay, if I'd have just created a 10-second video and put it on Facebook, it would have done the same thing. It didn't have to be a TikTok.
No, didn't have to.
No, TikTok is going to be a flash in the pan, because the moment they start to put a ton of advertising in it, people are going to get off the platform.
Yeah. I think there's all these great institutions, like these businesses and stuff that we all said, like, they will be around forever. They're never going to change. Like right now, Ford Motor Company is paying 10% interest on loans to stay open. Like, it's a very real possibility that Ford might not be around in 3 or 4 years. Like,
it might not.
Right? There's all these different industries that are constantly changing, and the idea that 15-second mimicked karaoke dance platform is going to upend like a real social media platform like an Instagram, Facebook. I don't see it.
Well, listen, I mean, Brad, do you use Snapchat?
No.
You want to know why you don't use Snapchat?
No business gets done there.
Well, not just that. Facebook saw that the stories worked
Yeah.
and said, we'll just do that.
Yeah.
So what do you think Instagram's going to do? Because
Oh,
Facebook is not in a position to really copy
Yeah.
TikTok's like algorithm.
Yeah.
Instagram can create a short video portion to their platform, and you're not going to stay on TikTok.
We already see that with the IG filters, everything that made Snapchat kind of fun. You can do that now. You can do that now on Instagram. I mean, and it's pretty bad. I remember about a year ago reading an article about like the Kardashians, and they were saying, "Oh, it's so sad. Like I never go on Snapchat anymore." And that was
Right.
6 months before that. That would have been insane to have heard.
And
So-
when was Snapchat big? Like, I mean, granted, Snapchat has a decent. I mean, they do a decent amount of ad business, but Snapchat was huge in like 2012.
Mhm.
We're only 8 years removed from that, and I mean, they're not a topic of conversation anymore.
No, I don't doubt that there's going to be these things like there's like TikTok is a lot of, in my opinion, you can put some stuff out there and you can have some success on it. But it's kind of like just a shotgun blast into the air. Maybe you hit a bird.
Yeah.
But if you aim, like the whole challenge with all of this, our marketing, is that like we talked about in like the first or second episode, is we can only spend 15 to 20% of our time doing it. So if that's the case, then how targeted do we need to be? Like how intentional do we need to be with our message?
And here's the other thing with TikTok. Like we already talked about cadence versus quality.
Yeah.
Okay. On YouTube, if you're putting out one video high quality every 10 days, you can build a page doing that.
Yeah.
On Facebook, if you want to build the following, you need to have the cadence, in my opinion, of a minimum of 3 videos a week. You know, so I need to be putting out videos almost 5 times as often as you are on YouTube. On TikTok, you lose that top of mind awareness even faster. People see you for 10 seconds and then you're gone.
Yeah.
Until your next video gets posted. You have to be putting out like 3 to 4 videos a day.
Yeah.
Who has time? Like, how are you going to create those and then still do business?
Yeah. And the reality is I've seen some of the TikToks that do really well in 10, 12 seconds. And I'm like, these guys set up like a little marble trail throughout their, I'm like, this is like a day's worth of work to create one 10-second video. I'm not saying that that's useless, that agents shouldn't spend some time there, have some fun for recreation, but
it's useless.
But don't see it for what
time
it is.
There.
It's a distraction. It's a distraction if you're trying to build
massive distraction
real estate business. And hopefully, this sets up like a great debate with some of the real TikTok fans out there. And I know there's a lot of guys that love it. Listen, Bob, I think we went a little long again, but whatever. I enjoyed it.
Whatever. It's good conversation.
And it's true, man. You are a master debater.
I am. The best of the best.
Yep. I could never take you on. I think the only person who could beat you is yourself.
That's probably true there, Brad. Thanks for that.
I love you, buddy. I'm sorry.
I love you
All
too.
right. Hey, listen, man, that's a great episode. Looking forward to next week where we may be actually bringing on a guest. Do we have that lined up yet? I'm not sure.
I don't have my list in front of me. It's either next week or the week after.